You just ate like a full meal, and yet 20 minutes later, you find yourself in the fridge searching for more food. And you're not even hungry, and you know you're not even hungry, but you just can't stop. You're not broken, and it's not willpower. In this video, we're going to talk about what's actually going on and how to change it. I'm going to let you in on something really important. Most overeating has very little to do with physical hunger. Overeating or thinking about food all day long means your body and your brain are looking for something. Something's not aligned, and that thing needs attention. And usually, it's not food. You may feel like, I lack control, I lack discipline, I just need to go on a diet and it'll fix the problem. And let me tell you, that is not going to fix the problem. In fact, it might actually make it worse. Overeating when you're not hungry can indicate things like emotional dysregulation. You have to deal with your emotions and you don't want to, or this is a habit, or emotions are uncomfortable and so you seek food. It can have to do with dopamine seeking. You just want to feel good. It could be restriction backlash, chronic underfueling, or just underfueling for the day. Maybe you're exhausted, tired, and you feel like it'll give you an energy boost. It's possible that you're overstimulated, or maybe it's just a habit. We're going to go over all of these things today because your body might not need more calories, and you probably know that. But your brain is asking for relief. It's asking for less stimulation or to feel good. And fixing it with food is what you know and what has worked in the past. Here are the 5 most common reasons why you overeat when you're not even hungry. You're under-eating earlier in the day. I see this all the time. If you, let's say, skip breakfast or skip lunch or eat a light breakfast and try to be good throughout the entire day, usually you're going to find yourself in front of the fridge at the end of the day. And you're frustrated with the end of the day problem when it actually started earlier in the day. Let's say you start your day with a bowl of cereal or oatmeal and you feel pretty good about that. And by lunchtime, maybe you have a salad with some chicken on it. And then you get home from work, you find yourself at the fridge, you're snacking, you can't stop snacking. While you're making dinner, you're snacking. You eat dinner, and then 20 minutes later, half an hour later, you find yourself in front of the fridge or reaching for something else. Your body's trying to make up for what you missed earlier in the day. This is why saving calories for later just doesn't work, and it backfires in the long run. Listen, your body is smarter than your diet, and it's really well designed. It's going to make you seek food and want more food just for it to survive. And I know you feel like that is overeating and out of control, but I promise you, it's not. Maybe your brain wants dopamine, not food. Dopamine is one of those things that helps us to feel good. Our body uses dopamine to help us go look for food. If we didn't have dopamine, we may not venture out and try new things or seek out food when we're hungry. But food is also stimulation. It works for boredom, it works for any sort of emotion as well. But food works as stimulation. And so your body releases dopamine when you are seeking out food, even if you're not hungry. This can happen when you're bored, stressed, tired, lonely. Maybe you're scrolling on your phone. It can even happen during burnout and decision fatigue. And let's be honest, there's a lot of things to make decisions about during the day. And sometimes it's just exhausting. So sometimes you're not hungry for food, you're actually hungry for relief. One of my clients would talk about this frequently in the context of work or looking for feeling better or having a reward for going to work, which she realized in her own words was ridiculous. She shouldn't have to reward herself for going to work. And I get it. Sometimes we just don't want to go to work, but using food as a reward becomes an unhelpful habit. She also described after coming home from work and her husband would go to sleep and she would find herself in the kitchen. That's when she could really let go. She could eat all of the foods that she had purchased intentionally to overeat on. As soon as her husband went to bed, it would give her permission to overeat. She'd been holding on all day waiting for this relief from food. This is reward eating at night, and it can feel really icky, and it can even upset your stomach, disrupt your sleep, and certainly doesn't help you feel good about yourself. Another reason is restriction. Restriction creates obsession. We can see this in restriction, not just in food, but in other areas of our life. Maybe with our finances, we feel restricted or we're trying to improve our finances. So we have that feeling of, ugh, I can't do what I want to do. Restriction with food is one of the things that is the most linked to overeating and weight gain. Yes, you heard that correctly. Restriction with food is one of the things that's most commonly associated with weight gain, because diets end and you end up overeating to make up for this feeling of restriction for however long it happened. Labeling foods as good and bad can feel restrictive and moral. There's no moral judgment to food. Trying to feel like you're eating good all day and then you overeat at night, and that can feel really bad. And you consider yourself bad or a failure. Having constant food rules or feeling like you're constantly white knuckling it feels like restriction, and it will lead you to focus more on food. What you restrict, you focus more on. You feel deprived. And the more intense the restriction, the louder your brain gets. I know you can probably relate to this one, maybe the most out of all of them. I know I can. At the end of a long day, you just feel overtaxed. Maybe it's the end of a long week, and you just feel like, I can't make one more decision. I want to let go. I'm exhausted. You're looking for relief. Your body's looking for relief. And maybe some food is a component of that. Sure, we need to nourish ourselves so that we can feel energized and better and repaired. But there's so much more to it than that. Food often becomes a way to numb or feel like you're grounding yourself. Maybe it's comforting, it's predictable, it's always there, it's soothing, it's reliable, it's dependable, and it never talks back. Sometimes overeating is a coping mechanism. It's not a character flaw. The last reason we're going to cover today is maybe you're disconnected from your body. I can see this in a lot of people who have trauma or they identify their body as unsafe either because of trauma or something happened in the past, or because they live in a larger body and society has told them that they are unsafe or they should be ashamed of their body. Again, with the client that I mentioned earlier, we know that she feels unsafe in her body. She has verbalized that to me. She has told me that. And there are many reasons that have been reinforced for her to feel unsafe in her body. And part of that is because of medicine. She feels if she goes into the doctor, she's ashamed of the way that she looks. When it comes to health conditions, she feels like she's walking around like a poster board saying, I'm unhealthy. She feels like she is open to judgment all the time, when most of the judgment actually lives inside her head. Therefore, if she is disconnected from her body, she may feel safer, and yet it is less helpful, and it is actually avoiding the problem. You can also see this when you're using food to distract. You know, when your kids get home from school and they just want to veg out and they eat food. They just want to self-soothe. Or they're bored, and so they're distracting themselves from being bored by eating. The interesting thing about disconnecting from your body is when you eat food and you're disconnected, you're not actually experiencing the food. You're not enjoying it and noticing how it tastes and how satisfying it is, which is what helps us to have a better relationship with food and ultimately stop overeating as frequently. So the solution isn't something that you're avoiding and using food to avoid. How to actually stop overeating when you're not even hungry. Pause without judging yourself. Pause. Just take a moment. Breathe. Stop thinking about the past. Stop thinking about the future and be here. Maybe you notice your feet on the ground or how your toes feel in your shoes. Maybe you notice the smell of the room or what do you see? This is a common technique used in therapy, and it works for grounding and helping reduce anxiety. It also helps us to be in the moment but present in our body. And yes, it may feel unsafe in the beginning, but I promise you, this is where the magic happens. So when you pause without judging yourself, instead of asking yourself, why am I like this? Or making statements like, I'm such a failure, I'm always going to mess up. Ask yourself, what do I actually need right now? This is something that I really started implementing after having kids, because the struggle is real when you're exhausted all the time and frankly overstimulated because of constant talking and needing things and touch. Although I love them to death, sometimes it's just a little overstimulating. Other reasons can be you need rest, comfort, maybe you need a hug, decompression. Maybe it is nutritional, but you need protein or hydration. Maybe you need a good cry or to scream into a pillow. Maybe you need connection and a good conversation with somebody. Maybe you need sleep. Sleep and quiet is usually what I need the most, and where I would frequently try to soothe with food. Now that I can recognize I need sleep and rest and quiet, I can take 5 minutes to go into a quiet room and recalibrate. And it feels so much better rather than going to the fridge and grabbing food, which ultimately doesn't work. I would ask you to be curious. And I know curiosity can feel maybe immature or scary, but it is so helpful. Be curious about what your body's telling you. Be curious about what you may need, what your brain needs, maybe what your mouth needs, what your body is asking for. If you are truly hungry or you find yourself still wanting food, ask yourself, get really curious about what type of texture of food do I want? What type of flavor? Do I want something that's hot or cold, crunchy or smooth? Get really specific. Because if you're eating a whole lot of apples because you're trying to avoid smooth chocolate, you might as well have the piece of smooth chocolate and be done with it and feel satisfied and move on with your life. Tool number 2, eat more earlier in the day. We touched on this one in the beginning of the video, and the solution is eating more earlier in the day, particularly protein. What I find is when people start their day with more protein-heavy meals, they end up eating less and not overeating as frequently in the evening time. So it's not just what you're doing here in the evening time, it's backing up way earlier in the day, and this makes the biggest difference. Other tools I will use with clients involving eating earlier in the day is making sure that you have maybe a snack before you come home from work. Maybe it's a snack on the way home from work so that you can give yourself the nourishment that you need so you're not going into a home setting of chaos, overstimulated, and then trying to soothe with food while you're also hungry. Or you're trying to hold on and white knuckle it all the way till dinner. You go into dinner super hungry. You feel like you overeat and eat quickly at dinner, and then you find yourself back at the fridge looking for more, and you don't feel hungry. Your body is, again, trying to make up for earlier in the day. So sometimes that afternoon snack is really strategic, and also making sure breakfast is high in protein. Tool number 3 is to stop trying to be perfect. Stop with the black and white thoughts. It's not that foods are good or bad. Some days you need different kinds of foods. Some days you need different amounts of foods. Our body is a well-calibrated machine, and yet we do everything possible to push down the signals that it is giving us. Now, sure, there are some foods that are going to be less nourishing and cause maybe more cravings, or they're going to be less filling. And sometimes we are drawn to those foods either out of habit or impulse. And instead, you could try pausing and sitting and asking yourself, what do I really need? This isn't necessarily that you're going to pick a perfect choice or a good food over a bad food. We need to get out of that thought process. But I find perfectionism itself, when it comes to food or many things in life, end up backfiring. The cycle can look like restrict, crave, overeat, guilt, and then restarting on Monday or tomorrow. This is the all or nothing cycle, and it's the exact thing that you're trying to break and stop. And if you want more information on this, I've linked the video at the end of this video so that you can watch it next. Tool number 4 is to create some friction. Create some friction between the urge and the action. I had a client the other day who feels like she just kept picking on brownies if she had brownies on the counter. So we had talked about putting the brownies up in a cabinet away where she can't see it all the time. She may know it's there still, but because it's not visible, she's less likely to go after it. Also, if you can't see it, you think about it less. Maybe you put something really up high and it's difficult to get to, and so you have to be really intentional when you want to get that more tempting food. You can also try things like making a practice of sitting down to eat, or saying thank you, or saying a prayer before you're sitting down to eat. This can help you to be in the moment and to really center, and it makes you more in touch with your body. You could try drinking water first, or taking 5 deep breaths, putting a snack on a plate instead of eating it out of the bag or box, asking what feeling is present right now. What are you feeling? And another one my clients commonly use is delaying the food by 10 minutes. If I really want this food and I'm feeling an intense craving, I can have it. I'm going to wait 10 minutes. Sometimes you'll find that you get distracted or the craving goes away, or you realize that you don't really want it anymore. It's important to not use distraction as punishment or restriction. And if you are postponing by 10 minutes, that is not a way of dieting. It is just a way to check in and feel your body more before making an impulse decision. Creating friction itself is not a punishment, and you don't need rigid control. That's just getting back into dieting mindset. The goal is to create awareness. I hope you understand now that overeating is a clue. It's a signal. It's information, and it's really valuable information. It may be that you're avoiding emotions that are going to come up later, and so might as well deal with them now. It's not proof that you're lazy, and it's not proof that you're failing. It's not that you need to try harder tomorrow or restrict more. Your body isn't trying to ruin your life, and your brain may actually be trying to protect you or soothe, help you feel better. Food may be currently solving the problem, or at least that's how it feels, but it's not solving the problem in the long run. And it's causing you emotional distress, or else you wouldn't be here. The goal is always understanding the pattern behind what we do without judgment. The moment you stop treating yourself like the enemy and your body like the enemy, some really cool things can happen. And it's usually the moment that things actually start to change. If this video resonated with you, why don't you leave me a yes in the comment and then tell me a little bit about what you like the best from this video or where you related. And if you want more on all or nothing thinking and to stop the black and white thinking and perfectionism, make sure to watch this video next. I'll see you over there.